Hi, everyone. I'm Lindsay Springer from the Chike Springer Foundation. Today, we have an amazing guest, Tori McGee. She is a two-time Hodgkin's lymphoma survivor. She is a mother to a one-year-old boy, Brixton. She is part of the adolescent and young adults community. She's a beautiful and strong woman of color, and she just celebrated her one-year rebirth from autologous stem cell transfer. That barely scratches the surface. Tori, we're so excited to have you talking to us to learn more about your story and spread awareness and hope. Welcome, Tori.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. That was an amazing intro, by the way.
Thank
I'm
you.
like, what's left? What's left to talk about? Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. I know there's a ton to your story and lots to talk about. So first of all, do you want to tell us a little bit about your story and what made you reach out to the Chike Springer Foundation?
Absolutely, absolutely. So you set it up quite nicely. I'll just give a additional context. So I'm 35 years old. I reside in Atlanta, Georgia, and I was originally diagnosed in 2019 with stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma. I underwent treatment for about a year and had relapsed Hodgkin's lymphoma in the fall of 2021, shortly after the birth of my beautiful baby boy. And you mentioned I had the autologous stem cell transplant about a year ago. So I have scans coming up and hopeful that I'm back in remission. We're claiming it. But more recently, I've just been looking for ways to spread my message and share my story, and actually stumbled onto your Instagram page by happenstance. I was just going through um, some of the pages that I follow within the cancer community, like divas, lymphoma ladies, cancer actually fucking sucks, which I love the title of their podcast. There's a bunch of different platforms, and I stumbled onto your page, and it stopped me dead in my tracks because for the first time in a long time, I saw in the bio that your mission, right, as a nonprofit organization that's dedicated to furthering the research for lymphoma specifically for adolescents and young adults, for military and veterans, and for people of color. And I went, man, I'm at the cross section of two out of the three cohorts. And I reached out to your team and I said, hey, I'm really interested in connecting. And I didn't know in what capacity that I could help. But, I said, hey, if there was interest in just sharing the story on your platform to help one person in your platform, I'd be more than happy. And so I slid in the DMs and here we are.
Yes, you did. And I love that you said that, what our mission was really drove you. You're free to be a spokesperson anytime. Because we really love to highlight people like you who are younger, who fit those groups that we're going after, to showcase that cancer can affect anyone. It doesn't matter where you come from or what you look like. And cancer does fucking suck.
It sucks. And I also want to say that I went through your page and I was super compelled by your story and your late husband's story. And the fact that you're continuing this work in his honor was just such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful story to see. And kudos to you, right? This is hard work and it's emotional, and you have to relive a lot of emotions day in and day out. But the fact that you're doing this in his honor and keeping his spirit alive is a testament to you and a testament to the love that you two shared. And I appreciate you for sharing that gift of his story with us. So thank you.
Whew, you are hitting a lot of things on right on the head. Yeah, it is hard reliving the story, but really, as we spoke before, Chike really wanted this to be something positive. It couldn't just be his suffering or his passing away. We had to remember him and use his stories as he wanted us to make it better. And we are all volunteer. No one gets paid, unfortunately, at the Chike Springer Foundation. So we really have a team that's just made of beautiful people who believe in our mission and who want to do exactly what you said, help one person, help more than that. Obviously, that's our vision, but
Yeah.
we're busy, and we know that if we can help one person, that's better than doing nothing, and to kind of letting it be that negative outcome that it unfortunately was for us.
Yeah.
But switching gears, let's talk about how you came to your diagnosis, or kind of what you noticed and why you went to the doctors.
Sure. So I would say shortly after my 32nd birthday, I started to have this pesky cough, just a dry cough, and it wouldn't go away. And I like never got sick, and it wasn't my first thought to go to the doctor. But what was happening was that all these other signs and symptoms started to kick in. So I had night sweats, and sometimes I'd wake up in the middle of the night and be drenched. I was very, very fatigued. I would have, I'd go to bed, I'd wake up in the morning, get ready for work, and I would be so exhausted that I would get back in the bed and like go back to sleep. I'm like, let me take a power nap before I go to work. I'm just tired. I'm just tired. And I'd like take a nap. Um, my skin would get really, really itchy and scratchy, and it felt like bugs were crawling all over my skin, which I later learned were like the lymphocytes in my bloodstream. I had lost a lot of weight. So I'm 5'10". I'm always been athletic. I carry weight well just because I'm taller. But I had lost 30 pounds without really noticing. But my
Wow.
coworkers were stopping me and going, "Hey, girl, you look good. You've been working out." And I'm like, "No, not really." And I didn't step on the scale. I just figured I had a high paced, fast paced, high visibility role. And I just chalked it up to, I'm traveling. I'm not necessarily taking the greatest care of myself. And I stepped on the scale and realized I lost a lot of weight, 30 pounds. And so I said, oh, something's going on. So all of this while I'm having this cough, which now has been a couple weeks in. So I go to the doctor and I tell him what I'm experiencing. And he's like, okay, well, you got a little thyroid fullness, right? Because he's looking at my neck at this point in time because I just looked swollen. You got a little thyroid fullness, but I got to figure out what's going on with this cough. So he sends me to get a chest x-ray, get the chest x-ray done. He calls me the same day. He's like, hey, there's a tumor. He used mass. There's a mass in your chest, and we got to get you in to get biopsied. And at this point in time, I still wasn't really thinking cancer. Like I talked to my mom, and I was like, yeah, the doctor called. He said there's like a mass there. And I didn't even think that cancer would be a part of like, my story or my reality. And of course, she knows, right? Like that's not normal. So I get the biopsy and they confirm Hodgkin's lymphoma, and we start treatment shortly thereafter. And I go into remission. I would say this is January of 2020. The treatment plan that I had for the first go round was something called a course called ABVD. And if there's anyone out there that's going through that, you can look it up. It's the standard course of care for first line of Hodgkin's lymphoma. And, went to remission in January and found out that there was a potential for a relapse within a year of going into remission.
Wow.
And so, yeah, yeah. The crazy, I don't know, I want to say crazy, but the scary part of it is that when I found out that there would be a potential for a relapse, I was newly pregnant. And I had conversations with the doctors, and they said, hey, listen, we see some activity on the PET scan. Because at this point, I went in for my annual PET scan. Just so that they can say, okay, like clear me to go. And they said, there's something going on. We don't really know. I wasn't symptomatic. I felt fine. I said, we did a wait and see approach. And I had doctors that were like, hey, if this is a relapse, like you might need to consider termination of your pregnancy. It was like a very scary, very dramatic time in my life. And I decided I'm going to move forward with my pregnancy. And lo and behold, about 10 weeks postpartum, I had a lymph node in my neck that got swollen on my right side. And I told my parents, I said, think we got a relapse. It's going to be okay. At this point, I had relocated from Jersey City to Atlanta, where I now reside. So I had a whole new team of doctors and, just kind of starting over with a different team and a new treatment plan and hopes that this will eradicate the disease and I can move forward.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for sharing the story. I have chills. There was so much of what you said that reminded me of Chike's journey, but
Mm.
yet obviously different. Do you feel like as a young person, when you were getting those symptoms, you were kind of like, oh, I'm tired because I'm working hard, I'm just getting older, or like, oh, I just have a sickness, like it's nothing. And one of the things that we've talked about with some of the doctors that we work with is the fact that younger people often have higher tumor burden and higher or longer disease progression because of the fact that they don't go in right away because they're just like, oh, I'm fine, it's okay. And you're in that AYA population into your 20s to 30s, you, you're not thinking cancer, you're not thinking anything like serious. So, you kind of take those risks. But it is really important. We've had a couple people that we've talked to and have showcased to really advocate for yourself. And when you do know that something is wrong or something doesn't feel right, to demand that, that the blood work is done, that the scans that are appropriate are done, and to make sure that you're getting the most comprehensive care that you can, because doctors think the same thing. They think, oh, 30-year-old, healthy, looks great, looks healthy. And there's not really a seriousness to it until something is found. What do you think people don't understand about the treatment journey, from your perspective?
Yeah, I I think this is really important for the audience to understand is that it is just that. It's a journey and it doesn't end, right? You get diagnosed, your journey begins. You start treatment, and whatever treatment that is for you, treatment ends. You go into remission, God willing, right? And hopefully stay in remission. Long after the well wishes are gone, right? Long after the calls stop and the text messages stop and the gifts stop and your coworkers checking in. This is a new normal, a new reality for you. And so it's a continuum, so to speak. You're continuing the work on your mental health, on your physical health, literally trying to regain your strength. You may be working on your spiritual growth. You may be working on your, you know, relationships and repairing your relationships. Physical, I look in the mirror, I have scars on my body that I didn't have before cancer. I've got biopsy scars and ports and catheters, just stuff, right? That I have to learn to love a new version of my body. I have to cope with the potential reality of infertility, right? Due to the harshness of the treatment. And for those of you who may be patients or caregivers or survivors, my thing is just to say to you, give yourself grace because this is an ongoing journey, right? It doesn't end, and I did not to scare anyone, right? It doesn't end when the treatment ends and you go into remission. There's a new normal and a new reality for your life, and it's a part of your story.
Yes, well said. Thank you so much for your perspective, for your story, for your message of hope and positivity. We're going to speak it into existence
Yes.
now. You are in complete remission, and the Hodgkin's lymphoma treatment is behind you. but now you're part of this advocacy, this work of spreading your message of hope and spreading awareness to other people. And we're so grateful to have you here as part of our community features with the Chike Springer Foundation. And we're happy to connect you with other organizations as well. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I think it's important that we continue to have these dialogues, push the conversation forward, especially within the Black community. We don't like to talk about our business, okay? Like, I'm trying to be a generational curse breaker. It depends on our parents and our parents' parents. It's like, no, we don't talk about our business. We have family members that have passed and we don't know what happened. Like they, of course they know, but we're like, well, what happened to so and so? What happened to so and so? Or there's family friends who passed away, but they were suffering and they were suffering in silence and they were suffering alone and they didn't necessarily want to burden other people, quote unquote, right, with their situation or circumstance. And I think it's important the work that you're doing because it allows us to have a platform to connect with others and to be a safe space for people who are going through this journey. And if we can make someone feel less alone, count me in.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tori. It's been a
Thank
pleasure.
you. Thank you so much for having me.